All right. Well, thanks for coming. I see a few people are here. We're going to watch a video here in a little bit that I made for you guys. I actually made this video yesterday, but I did a feed really early in the day, and it kind of tanked on me. And it, in hindsight, it really didn't. I went back and I watched it, and it turned out better than I thought it did. But I thought it was going horribly wrong, and there was only like one person there, so I freaked out. And but it didn't come across. I watched it. I didn't want to watch it, but I made myself watch it. It actually turned out pretty good. I could have went the full hour, but I bailed at a half hour, and it might be better because I used that opportunity to tell people about tonight, because I always pretty much do one on Friday night at 6:30. I'm going to go ahead and make that my regular time, Friday night, 6:30 Central. What's funny about that is as soon as I do that, my job will schedule me on Friday nights to work. But so far they haven't. So I'm going to go ahead and make that my regular time. I got to turn the sound down on my phone. You keep hearing my notifications. But we're going to watch it. Hey, Steve. Hey, Jeff. We're going to watch this video that I made for you guys. It's about 5 minutes long. And then afterwards, we're going to hang out and talk about whatever you want. This is a participation show, so feel free to comment and bring up any topic you want to, any conspiracy or anything at all you want to talk about. But right now, we're going to watch this video. Let me make the screen big for you. Welcome back to Conspiracy Theories and Chill. On this episode, we're going to get into what is really going on with the protests in France. And yes, I said protests. I realize that the little bit that our propaganda machine media is even reporting on the Yellow Vest protests, they refer to it as riots, but it's a protest. And it's not just over a gas tax, as they'd also have you believe. There is so much more behind it. And all the people of the world should join with France, because they are fighting back against the oligarchs and the New World Order agenda that is enslaving us all. The French people have had enough of the greed that is constricting us. They've been pushed past their limit and have united together in protest against it. What they are doing is not only brave and admirable, it is necessary. That is how real change happens, and that is why they make it so hard to do and misreport it when it does. We're slaves. Slavery never ended. It was just reimagined to include us all. We're kept overwhelmed with burdens and responsibilities by design to make it nearly impossible to do what is necessary in a true democracy. If the people don't actively participate in a democracy, it can turn into the beast system that we now have. Greed has been allowed a stranglehold on our society, and whether we like it or not, our only course of defense is to follow the example being shown right now in France and rise up against it. And even though the media would have you believe they are rioting, that's not what's happening. For the most part, it's a massive but peaceful protest. Now, that's not to say that some rioting hasn't happened, but let's keep in mind a few things. One, provocateurs are commonly used to justify police intervention in protest situations. So, and especially with the small overall percentage that's gone on in the French protests of violence, I think you have to take all of that with a grain of salt, especially when you consider that they are standing up against a militarized police force. It's important to understand that tear gas and riot police are being used as well on, as I said, generally peaceful protesters, just because the police feel that too many of them have gathered in a certain area, not because they were violent, but because their numbers were growing too large. And that's what it's all about and what's truly at stake here. Our only strength is our numbers, and the only way to use that strength is to be united, which is why so much energy is spent making sure we stay divided as possible. We are the many, and they are the few. We're only weak because we've allowed them to make us believe that we are. We're not, though. United, we're unstoppable, and the French are showing us that right now, which is why the media is misrepresenting it as riots, so the average American doesn't get any crazy ideas of rising up right along with them, which is exactly what needs to happen. If it doesn't, we're doomed. The New World Order agenda is moving forward towards its final stages at a rapid pace, and a big part of what is really behind these protests in France is the push of the mark of the beast system. You see, France is leading the New World Order agenda charge to digitize the population by 2022. That means within 5 years, every citizen of France will have a digital ID card with a chip in it that contains all of their data and information, otherwise known as the mark of the beast. So it turns out it's not in your hand or forehead, it's in your wallet. And the mark of the beast won't stop in France. It will spread like a virus throughout the world. We need to join the French and fight back against the oligarchs in the New World Order while we still can, because that time is coming to an end at a frightening pace. Otherwise, we're going to be living in their New World Order agenda. We're going to be living in smart cities crammed together like mice in a lab with all of our data and finances on a chip that can be shut down with the press of a button should we decide to cause any trouble for the establishment. We'll be completely replaced by automation and on a government stipend to survive. Completely dependent on the system. Powerless. And that's what they want. The only question at this point is, are we going to give it to them? If we don't join the French and fight back against what is coming, then yes, we are. So if you're waiting for the time to fight back, it is now. The beast system is in its final stages and time is running out. People are feeling that and rising up against it in self-defense. And the powers that be are using their media to convince you that they are just a small group of violent rioters. It's lies. That's all the beast deals in, is lies. In this world of deceit, you have to seek out and find your own truth. And when you find it, you have to spread and share it with others to fight back against the lies. The bottom line is we have to unite. And we have to rise up together in mass and fight back, or it will soon be too late. I don't want to see that happen. And I definitely can't do nothing and stay silent while it does. So thanks for watching, and please share and like this video to spread the truth of what is actually happening with the Yellow Vest protests in France. And we'll see you next time right here from me on Things and Stuff. Welcome back to
All right, that was the video. Some of you already saw that yesterday, but for those of you who just saw it today, I wanted to get a little feedback from you because I wanted to see if you noticed something while watching the video, how it became more of a rant. Did you notice how it at a certain point, it stopped being a video on the French protests and more of a rant? Because I got to say, what they're doing over there is inspiring. For someone like me, it's important to see something like that. And I wish I could see more of that. And I wish more of it would catch on. And I wish we'd see it here. But now I'm wishing, doing a whole lot of wishing. But what my point was, is I'm losing faith in humanity. And it's important for me to see stuff like that. So it kind of made me get on this whole rant about how we better get off our asses and start fighting back, because, you know, there will come a time when it will be too late to fight back, and there'll be nothing that we can do about any of this. I feel like that picture's been up a really long time. Let me fix that. There we go. Sorry, technical difficulty. But I like seeing what I'm seeing over in France, because it gives me hope. Because the New World Order agenda that has been put in place against us is so far advanced and so far into their plan that sometimes fighting against it, or even thinking of fighting against it, gets to be a little overwhelming, you know? It's good to see some hope, you know, that people will rise up and unite and come together and make sacrifices to stand up against what's going on. For me, it's good to see that. But I did one of these yesterday. I mentioned that a couple times already, and I'm going to talk briefly about what happened. I watched it, and if you want to watch it, it's still up. I'll leave it up on my page. But I started having a breakdown on my end. I know this is happening, but I watched it, and you can't really tell. At about 15 minutes in, I was having a panic attack. And then I did another, I don't know, I think I went 24 minutes. So I did another 8.5, 9 minutes, just completely panicking. But you can't even tell. That's what a professional is. No, I only brought it up. The only reason why I'm even mentioning it is because I thought it was important. You know, people don't talk about mental illness very much. I deal with, I'm bipolar. I have PTSD. I have, you know, severe depression. I deal with a lot of mental issues, and you know, anxiety and panic attacks happen to be one of the symptoms of the things that I deal with, and it doesn't get talked about enough. So if you have an eye for that kind of thing, you might be able to see it. But around 15 and a half minutes, I can tell you the exact point if we were watching it together right now. It would almost be interesting to do as a case study, to just watch the episode and I'll go right there. That's where I started having a panic attack. But so I decided at around the 24-minute mark, I bailed on the episode. Yeah, I usually go an hour, but I wanted to explain why that happened, and that's why. So, hey, Lori, you got here just in time. We watched the video. You happened to be one of the ones that saw it yesterday during the feed I was just talking about. I was talking about what happened during that feed. I don't know if you even noticed it, but at around 15 minutes, I was having a panic attack during the show, and I bailed. That's why I bailed at a half hour. I only did about 25 minutes, but that's why. That's what happened. But it worked out good, because this, I think, is going to be our regular time slot. I think 6:30, Fridays at 6:30 p.m. Central is going to be the regular time slot from here on out, until something happens that changes that. And like I said, now I officially jinxed it, so something is probably going to change that will affect that. But, you know, maybe not. Lori says that there's a lot of mental illness in her family. I believe my mother dealt with a lot of the same things that I deal with. She didn't talk about it, but when I think back on her and I think back about it, I think she did deal with a lot of that stuff. I have to turn down the volume on my phone, because that beeping is going to get annoying. So I have to leave Facebook for a second. I won't be able to see what you guys are saying for a second, because I got to turn that down. Whoops. I hate how clumsy I get when I'm trying to do something during a live feed. I'm usually really good with this phone. It lives in my hand, so I operate it fairly well. Isn't that funny how these things have become an extension of your body almost? You know, I can't imagine living without my phone. You know, and it wasn't that long ago that that these didn't exist, that these weren't part of reality. You know, when I was a kid and all the way up till when did I get my first cell phone? Not even smartphone, but cell phone. I was probably in my 20s. So most of my life, I didn't even have one of these things. And, you know, now they're so neat. They're like, it's having a computer in your pocket. They're very neat. You know, and you become dependent on them. I can't even imagine living without it. It makes everything so much easier and so much simpler in life, having this computer in my pocket that I can just pull out and I can ask Google anything. We were walking into a store the other day, me and Bayless, and we were walking past what used to be a Best Buy, and it was all empty inside. I was like, ooh, they went out of business. And she's like, did they? And I was like, I don't know. Let's find out. I pulled out my pocket. And I was like, hey, Google, which is creepy, by the way, that you can pull out your phone and say, okay, Google, did Best Buy go out of business? And it'll look it up, which means it's listening to you the whole time, which is proven anyway. But that is super creepy. And you willingly carry that around in your pocket. George Orwell never could have imagined that we would embrace the surveillance to the point that we have. He even put in there that the people loved it and all that stuff. He didn't cover it. He didn't get it across. He would have never imagined to what point we love it and what point we would interact with it, and it would be something we would think of and buy fancy cases for, decorate. You know, hey Paul, I can't even imagine what George Orwell would think if he saw what actually has come to be. You know, what he imagined is seemed so frightening back then. But for him to see what it actually has come to be and how covert and sneaky they've been about pulling the wool over people's eyes, he'd probably be pretty amazed that, especially I think with the technology embrace, that people have embraced technology as our masters so willingly. I would expect him to be. I still kind of am sometimes when I think about it, but you know, they're very neat. They're very neat. Matter of fact, I was almost late to tonight's feed because I was playing a game on my phone. They're awesome. You know, I can't imagine what, like sitting in a waiting room and waiting for the doctor or something without a phone, or going to the bathroom without a phone. Take that thing everywhere. It's always with me. And they're constantly tracking you, you know. They got into that in the movies all the way back in '93, wasn't it? Enemy of the State with Will Smith. When that movie in '93, how they could track you. They were already telling you way before Edward Snowden came out and let everybody know. Yeah, Lori says we used to have phones on the wall with curly cords. Yeah, and they had dials, and you would dial each number individually. You would take it all the way around the wheel, like one, all the way around, and then wheel it back, and then that was your one, and then you do two. You know, you do that 8 times to make a phone call, or 7 times. My bad, 7 times. See, you got to watch that, because I got in trouble earlier on YouTube. I responded to a comment a little too hastily. That yellow vest video on YouTube has a comment over there where this guy is saying, well, America's not a democracy anyway, we're a republic. So you should know that, Mr. Truth, whatever. And so I hastily replied something that wasn't very thoughtful, and like a 1-sentence reply. I don't remember what it was, but basically, how's that working out for you? Are you liking that? You know, something along those lines. And he comes back with, you're such an idiot. You don't even know that we've always been a republic. And I'm like, but we're also a democracy. You know, someone correct me. I mean, someone teach me if I'm wrong. Have we been misled? Are we, what are we? What are we? Someone tell me. I don't fucking know. I know we're a corporation. We could go deeper if you want. I mean, he wants to sit there and nickel and dime me that we're actually a republic. Well, we're a corporation. Our president is basically just a CEO of a corporation. We're bought and paid for. So we can keep going down that rabbit hole, and you keep with that argument. But do you like the way things are, or do we need to rise up and change it? Will things change without rising up and changing them? So why argue and bicker over what we are, republic or democracy? What's the matter? Does our republic have democratic tendencies? You know, I mean, now I have to, now because of this comment, I have to respond to it now. And I have to do homework and research and figure out what it means to be a republic and what that means as far as being a democracy, and those two intertwining and all of that. I have to basically get a law degree to finish this conversation on YouTube. It's ridiculous. And all we're arguing over is whether or not we need to rise up, right? That's what the video is about anyway. I didn't think the video was about whether or not America was a democracy. And I feel like on paper we are a democracy. Yes, we are a republic, and yes, we are basically a corporation. But I feel like on paper we're a democracy, and if the people were to rise up united and demand things, that things would actually happen. That's the way it's always been demonstrated to be. So I think that remains to be true. I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to get my law degree and bicker with this guy on YouTube because I'm a fool. Paul says we're a republic masquerading as a democracy. He didn't say masquerading, but I couldn't say the word that he did say. I didn't want to come out of my mouth. Lori says Orwell was off by 34 years. Oh yeah. Oh, he was a little off on the time, but he was also way off on their approach. His approach seemed to be, or at least the way I imagined it when I read the book, a more militarized approach where it was just, you know, black and white and gray and real dull walls. And I just pictured a really dull world with screens on the walls. And, you know, that's what I pictured in my mind when I thought about it. I don't think he realized that it would be so romanticized. That instead of forcing you to have the monitors that watch you, that you would want to have them, that you would want to have the newest one, that you would run out and buy the most current one, even though yours is perfectly fine. The iPhone 10 has come out, so you have to go and buy the iPhone 10. You know, you already have an Alexa, and you can ask it about pancake recipes all day long, but the new one comes out, and you got to have the new one. The new one does extra stuff. Yeah, Paul, you should have said masquerading. Come on, man. It just feels better off the tongue. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you wrote might look better on paper, but when you say masquerading, it's easier to say. It's friendlier to the conversation. Jeff says it really doesn't matter what we are called as long as we adhere to the puppet masters. See, you bummed me out for a second there because he's right. He's right. He's not wrong. He's right. But is there any way out of it? Because if there's no way out of it, then we're just spinning our wheels, and that frustrates the hell out of me. I got to have some kind of hope. I got to feel like there's a way to reverse. Even though it's so far advanced, it's hard for me sometimes to think that there is a way, but I have to have there's got to be a sliver of hope. Some reason to be doing all this. I don't know. Lori says France has a superior so-called democracy to us. Okay. See, I thought they were a republic too. The Republic of France, I don't know. I'm confused. Like I said, I don't fully understand what it means to be a republic and what the difference is between a republic and democracy and how democracy functions in a republic. I don't understand the logistics of all of that. And I'm going to have to learn it because I made a backhanded comment to somebody. I shouldn't have even replied to it. I should have just left it alone or let someone else reply to it, but I replied to it. And now I have to learn about all of that because I still feel like us rising up is relevant. So I have to see that if in a republic, if it's irrelevant for people to rise up. Because that's the key to the argument with this guy. If we can still rise up in a republic, democratic republic, can we do that then? Or do we need to bicker over republic democrat, republic democracy or whatever? Jeff says no fate but what we make. Terminator 2 reference. Terminator 2 reference. Jeff gets 5 points for the Terminator 2 reference. Bernie F. and Sanders. See here because I don't see him. Hey, that reminds me. A Facebook celebrity liked one of my videos today and was watching it and commenting, and I was like a little high school girl getting ready for prom. I swear, I was so excited. I was a Gerard Kinnett hit K. I'm masquerading. I'm masquerading. I'm massacring his name, and it makes me mad because I watch him all the time. I've just never said his name out loud. I just read it and I go click on it and I watch his video. But I think I got it. I think I got it right. I just don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. But I was super excited. I was like, that is awesome. So I watch his videos all the time. Christopher says there is hope. I hope so. I have a lot of hope. I have a lot of hope when I see what's happening in France, for example, and then like when I look at the younger generation, they seem to be at least a lot more open-minded, a lot more accepting, you know, and you know, I get a little hope when I see that. So there's little things that give me hope in humanity, but a lot of times you look at this big picture and you look at what we're up against, you know, with the New World Order beast system and what's really happening in the world, and you think, well, can we do anything about it at this point, or is it so far along that there's nothing that can be done anymore? And sometimes you lose a little faith in humanity because you think like the average person doesn't even really want to be bothered with this knowledge, which you know, I can even understand it, not wanting to burden yourself with all of that and having too much of your own stuff going on to think about it. But that's how we ended up in this situation. Too many people are like that. You know, you're going to have to take an interest in what's going on outside of your household and what's going on in the world, because that affects you too. That affects your children and future generations. So it's important to, you know, focus on your own life, of course, but, you know, you have to take an interest in what's going on around you. Lori says I invited him in. Oh, thank you. Jared Connect. Hey, damn it. I said K. It's hey. Damn it. And that was the part I was iffy on. So I was like, man, did I mess that up? And I sure did. I'm really good at getting names wrong. So if you happen to watch this one, I'm sorry. I'm a big fan, though. I watch your videos all the time. But Christopher says never give up, or never give up, never up or give in. I butchered that, Chris. I'm sorry. Paul says a republic is a bank owned and ran statehood. That was beautifully put, but that didn't help me understand it any better. I'm going to have to research it. What does that mean as far as democracy is concerned? Because this guy's arguing with me that we couldn't rise up like the French are doing because we're a republic. Is that true? So that doesn't make any sense to me. You know, I'm like, okay, so we're a republic. We can't rise up and make our voices heard and make our demands heard and get what we want. If we rise up together like the French are doing, or even on a larger scale, we couldn't make change happen, because that's how it's always happened. So it'd be weird if we couldn't. Lori says staying nice and warm asleep in bed. Who is? You are? You can't be asleep because you're here. I wrote down, I got some notes here of things I was going to bring up during the show. But go ahead and talk about whatever you want, anything you want in the comments. If there's a conspiracy you'd like for us to get into, we'll kick it around. I might know a little bit about it. You know, you never know. I like to watch a lot of conspiracy videos. So go ahead and mention it in the comments and we might get to it. There's a real good chance we will, because we got a half hour left to go. And I've only got a page of notes. And most of these I talked about yesterday, but, you know, not everybody was here yesterday. And plus, this is a live show, so I won't say it the same way I did yesterday. Lori says people in the streets can be done. Hello, MLK. Oh, the sheeples are asleep in their beds. Yeah, mentally they are. They are. And you know what? You can see why they would want to. Because in yesterday's episode, I compared it to being the canary in the coal mine. You know, we're the ones running around saying the sky is falling, and no one will listen to us. You know, except the sky really is falling, and no one wants to hear about it. You know, this is really going on. These fuckers worshiping Moloch, and they control your life, and they misdirect and mislead you through the weapons of mass deception, the mass media. They use that to misdirect and lie and misinform the population and hide their wicked shit that they're into. Oh, he's here. Oh, sweet. That is cool. That's just a cool little experience for me. I watch your videos all the time, man. Welcome to the show. Let's see here. Let me see what you guys have been talking about. Christopher brought up Freemasons. That reminds me, there's a video I want to do for you guys, but I'm trying to figure out the logistics of how to do it on the layout of Washington, D.C. The layout of Washington, D.C. is fascinating. I actually have a map of it on my wall. If the camera wasn't mounted to my computer, I would turn it around and show you. But it's full of Illuminati and Freemason imagery and all kinds of things. It lines up on certain... I'm not even going to attempt it right now. I was going to attempt to start talking about the technical details of it. I'm not even going to attempt it. I want to do a video on it. But power lines, ley lines. That's what I was trying to say. But anyways, it's laid out. It has owl in it. Moloch, he's in the layout of Washington, D.C. I got to do a video for you guys. I got to figure out how to be able to move a map around on the video and show you what I'm talking about in detail. But a lot of it's real interesting, like the Washington Monument. First off, the obelisk is a satanic Luciferian monument to begin with, but that one happens to be exactly 666 feet. What is it, 100 feet? 100-something feet is underground, but the full length of that thing is 666. But there's a lot of interesting stuff like that in the layouts of Washington, D.C. So I want to make a video. Once I figure out how to do it, I want to make a video for you guys and really go into that, because I think it's fascinating. Hey, thank you. He said, Gerard said, thank you, brother. Good to see you live. Yeah, thanks for being here. Paul says, I've never touched my right elbow with my right hand. That is fascinating, Paul. I haven't either, man. We have something in common. Lori says, when I watch this later, her comments will make sense. Yeah, see, a lot of times, it's funny that you brought that up. A lot of times you do get in trouble when you're doing a live feed, because you're trying to, not have dead air and make something entertaining for people to sit and watch. But at the same time, you're trying to look and see what people are talking about, and you don't tend to get you tend to miss it. You're a few seconds off, and there's also a delay in the feed, like about a 5 to 10 second delay from what I'm looking at to what you're looking at. But that's only because I'm doing this, where I got this pictures over here. Like Gerard, he has really cool stuff where he can put himself in like a little house and, be talking from inside the house. And he also knows how to share to YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. That's something that Tim Black also does that I don't know how to do. I'm still I'm baby stepping this. For me, this is fancy. This is have the pictures over here. This is fancy. I used to do this show. If you would have seen it when I first started doing these over a year ago, I used to shoot it. I used to show the video off my cell phone. I would shoot the show off my cell phone and then hold the rest of the video. I was holding the phone in my hand. They were not fancy at all. So this is fancy for me. But let's see. Jeff says, sometimes I stand in a hole and put dirt on my head and pretend I'm a carrot. It's good to have hobbies, Jeff. It's good to have hobbies. And you're not hurting anybody by doing that. So you go out and be a carrot. You be the best carrot you can be. But let's see. I want to get into some of these things I wrote down because it's like I said, I talked about them yesterday, but I want to get into them again today. One that I thought was interesting that kind of ties into the protests a little bit is that in the Parkland school shooting, the case involving the police officers in the Parkland school shooting, the judge has ruled that they had no constitutional duty to protect the students. They don't. Cops do not have a constitutional right or a duty to protect you. There can be an officer nearby knowing that you're about to be attacked and can allow it to be attacked and go about his business. He does not have to come and protect you. They are just the bully and the military and the muscle for the elite and the establishment, and they will be used against you. Yes, Steve, the Washington, D.C. outlet, the whole layout, the Pentagon included, it's all got Luciferian satanic imagery, and oh, it's fascinating. I'd have to show it to you, but I'm looking at it right now. I wish I could show it to you right now, but look it up. Or wait for my video. No, wait for my video. I'll make it. I just got to figure it out. I wanted to make, that was what was going to be today's video. But like I said, I haven't figured out the logistics of it. And I got off on a tangent. Like I said, that video I made for you guys ended up being less of a video into the protest and more of a rant on what we need to be doing, you know, as far as getting off our asses and fighting back against what's happening to us. Because it's like a boa constrictor. Just because it's happening slowly doesn't mean it isn't happening. You know, and once it's in, you know, it's got it in tight enough, it'll be too late. You know, it's like we're frogs boiling in a pot of water. The water's boiling. It's reaching a level where it's going to boil. We're dying, but we don't realize it because it happened slowly. I don't know. I don't want to get off on a tangent on that again. I feel like I spent enough time talking about my dip in faith in humanity. So I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to work on having more faith that we will pull ourselves out of this, that doing things like this, like what I'm doing, even though it's on such a small scale, you know, just live feeds on Facebook and YouTube videos, it's my part. It's better than doing nothing, I feel. So I just got to feel like there's some kind of hope in it, that I'm doing it for a reason, you know. Because, yes, I like it when videos catch on. And, by the way, that French Yellow Vest protest is doing pretty well for my channel over on YouTube. It's almost at 300 views, and I just uploaded it yesterday. So it's catching on really good over there. I like seeing that. The most popular videos I've had over there, other than that, were my Mandela videos, which I'm working on another one of those. I'm going to have that in the future. So I'm coming up with a new list of Mandelas to cover in that video. If you have any Mandelas that you'd like me to cover or that you'd like to recommend to me, go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I'd appreciate that. Jeff says, when is the next Bilderberg meeting? I've been meaning to find that out. I know you're fucking with me, or I think you are, but I've been meaning to find that out. Jeff's got one of those personalities where you never know if he's being serious or not. Lori says, Build-A-Bear. Bilderberg, Build-A-Bear. They do sound just like each other. But no, the Bilderberg meeting, that's a real thing. I mean, you know, it's a real meeting that takes place. A lot of the most powerful people in the world get together and decide what's going to happen in the world the next year. Or lay it all out, have meetings and conferences and plan it all out. You know, it's highly secret. The press isn't allowed in. Could be nothing. Could be something. You know what I mean? Oh, Jeff's serious this time. hold on. I got caught up reading comments. It's hard to do when you're doing this. Like, it'd be easier if I was doing it where I could see the comments while I'm looking at them. See, somebody that's really smart at computers like Gerard needs to teach me how to be a little fancier so that I can look at them and read them as I'm seeing. Because I have to, the way I have to do this, I have my phone pulled up. So I have the feed playing on my phone so I can see your comments. So there's kind of a delay there's a 10-second delay between what I'm saying and what you're commenting. But I get caught up and read them sometimes. Like, okay, let's see. Gerard says we can have faith in humanity and be realistic about all the places we are failing. Yeah, absolutely. He says adds being honest about our failing is how you really love humanity. And it's also how you learn. You got to be honest when you're failing and acknowledge it and move on. You know, learn from it and better yourself and move on. But Jeff, I honestly don't know when the next build, and I seriously have been meaning to find out about it. I wasn't kidding when I said that either. I just was watching a video on TrueStream Media, and they mentioned Bilderberg, and I was like, I wrote it down. I was like, I need to find out when the next meeting is. But I don't know. They have it at the same time every year. So once I find out when it is, it's that time every year. Or around that time. I'm pretty sure it's around the same time every year. But what Bilderberg is, if you're here and you don't know, is a secret meeting that's been going on for, I don't know how long. I want to say 100 years, or since 1932. So that's not quite 100 years, but for a long time. And it happens every year. It started at the Bilderberg Hotel, and all the elites get together and have like a week's worth of plans and events and conferences and all that. And, you know, no one's allowed in there, but things have been leaked out of there. And basically they're planning out the next year of our lives. Like what's going to happen in the world, what's going to happen, you know, they're laying it all out in this meeting, you know, the blueprints for it anyway, and then setting that into motion over the course of the next year. Gerard says, anytime people say I'm smart, I remember the time I jumped off the roof with a Superman cape. I've done a ton of stupid stuff. You know, I often say that for a smart person, for an intelligent person, I do a ton of stupid. I'm very good at doing stupid things. But I think acknowledging that is part of being intelligent, you know, being able to acknowledge and learn from and move forward when you do stupid things. Because we all do stupid things. Even the smartest person isn't 100% smart in every area. You know, you're going to be like, you know, let's take Nikola Tesla, for instance. He was a genius in certain areas, but I'm sure he was awkward in some areas too. You're not going to have a global, there's no one that's Brad Pitt, personality of whatever, whoever has a great personality and then great looks and all of that rolled into one ball. And a genius. Usually you have everyone has their flaws. Jeff says knowing your weakness is a strength. Absolutely. Lori says truth is a precious commodity. And it's becoming a rare commodity. It's becoming something that we really need to defend. And, you know, for instance, what's going on with Julian Assange? You know, it's dangerous to tell the truth. Your life can be in danger from telling the truth. His is. And, you know, he's lived in that embassy for how long? And those ridiculous trumped up charges against him were dropped by the country, I believe, a long time ago. So at this point, he's just being persecuted for sharing the truth. Lori says even Brad Pitt has flaws. I've heard he doesn't shower, but I've heard he does that so that people don't bother him. I've heard he's like nasty, but that he does that on purpose so that, you know, like having poor hygiene and smelling bad and all that makes people not want to swarm him. I imagine you have to do interesting stuff like that. Creative, you have to be some kind of creative way to have some kind of personal space as a celebrity. I imagine it's exhausting. Steve says Gary Webb and Seth Rich. Yeah. That's what happens to truth tellers. That's what happens to the canaries in the coal mine. We get silenced. You start hollering, people start listening to you. Or you try to share the truth like Seth Rich. Seth Rich was the DNC leaker, by the way. I know most people, well, no, most people don't know that. And it needs to be said as many times as it needs to be said. You feel like you beat a dead horse because you operate inside circles where people do know that, but a lot of people aren't aware of that, and they still believe it's Russia. Can you believe that Russia stuff is still even a story? I can't. I don't watch any mainstream media. I try not to watch it at all. I try not to take any of it in at all. So sometimes I'm behind on news, but also the upside of it, I'm protected from all that brainwashing. But from what I've seen, they're still reporting on Russia. This is ridiculous. An election was rigged, but it wasn't the general election. It was the Democratic primary. And it was rigged for Hillary Clinton, and it wasn't rigged by Russia. Sorry, I got smoke in my eyes. See, this is not only a terrible habit, kids, it's also dangerous. You could be driving. That's happened to me when I was driving. Got smoke in my eyes. I could have died. Because you can't see. It burns. You got to close your eyes. Then bam. A bad habit. Don't do it. But yeah, the Russia stuff. You know, they just released a story. I couldn't even believe that these weapons of mass deception here, the mass media, would release this as a story. I'd be ashamed, especially for how long they've been ranting and railing about Russiagate. You know, Russia rigged the election, and Trump is Putin's puppet, all of that, all of it. To have to come out and admit that what they did was spend $4,700 on Facebook ads and put out, what was it, like 20-something memes? That's all they've got so far. You know, that's what they're running with. And they're like, yeah, they swayed the election with that. You know, let's not look into how much money Saudi Arabia gave to the Clinton Foundation. Don't look there. Don't look at how much money Israel has in our politics and our politicians. Don't look there. You know, we're basically the United States of Israel. Don't look at that though. Don't look over there. Don't look at how we're funding them. What, $38 billion a month? I guarantee I'm wrong on that figure. But whatever the figure is, it's ridiculous, and we shouldn't be doing it. And more people need to be aware of Israel's influence over the United States. And this is something that you're not allowed to talk about. This is something that they'll take your videos down on YouTube and Facebook for talking about Israel. They're trying to make it illegal to talk bad about Israel. And you need to wonder why that is. Why do you need to make it illegal? Why do you need to make it, you know, why do you need to force people to follow and support Israel? Why? You need to look at why. Why do they have so much control over us? Why do we worry about them so much in our foreign policy? Why does Netanyahu come over here and talk to our presidents and representatives like they work for him? Because they do. I'm getting sidetracked again. I just feel like I need to hit Israel every once in a while. I need to hit on that. People need to pay attention to Israel's influence over our country. you want to talk about a country influencing us, then you can look in those directions. You know, not Russia, I don't think. Anyways, I just think it's complete horseshit. And I don't know how anybody still watches it or buys into any media that still reports on it. People lose their jobs for talking about it? Are you saying for talking about, see, we're behind again. I might be talking about the wrong thing, but are you saying for talking about Russiagate being bullshit, people lose their jobs? Oh, I know. Even if that's not what you were talking about, you're right. Hey, I have a quick question that I wanted to ask. And, you know, we got about 7 people here. Someone might be able to answer it for me. Why are people against Trump pulling out of Syria? How can you be against ending war and bringing your troops out of an area that they don't need to be in? I'm all for it. Matter of fact, there's what, 7 others that we need to pull out of too? Let's pull out of all of them. Let's stop all this bullshit and this endless war. How can you be against that? Someone explain it to me. You know, I see people that are left-leaning on Facebook talking about Trump's Putin's puppet played right into his hand, pulling our troops out of Syria. Like, what in the fuck are you talking about? Why are you upset about the troops being pulled out? Why aren't you happy about that? Sometimes I don't understand how it is that you're supposed to actually support the troops. Are you supporting the troops by keeping them busy? Or should the goal be for them not to be busy? You know, is that how you should be supporting them? Steve says, I believe Israel was one of the players in 9/11, though not the only player. I do too. I believe that they were involved, the Mossad was involved, and I believe that's their CIA. And I believe they worked in cooperation with our CIA to help pull off 9/11. But yeah, I definitely believe Israel was involved in 9/11. And I cover that in my 9/11 video on my YouTube channel, Me on Things and Stuff, which is a fantastic YouTube channel. And you should go check it out. I would really appreciate that. That's the free way to support my show, is to go over to my YouTube channel and check out some videos, like some videos, comment, share, any of that. It's just like Facebook. They have an algorithm too. So any interaction over there helps my videos show up better and helps me out. So that's a really good way to help me for free. If you want to support the shows, you can become a supporter on Patreon, and I got a link in the description for how to do that. But liking and sharing, that's helping me too. So I like free stuff. That's a free way to help me out. And after the video, I'll share the link to the YouTube video we watched tonight. Share that for me. That would be another good way to help me out. I would appreciate that. Gerard says the 1913 inception of the Federal Reserve after the Republic died totally without the Constitution, with the Constitution. Okay, so well, this is interesting. This is kind of off topic from what you just said, but this is interesting. While you're here, I'm going to ask you. There's a guy on my YouTube video that's arguing with me about how comparing our situation to France and saying that we should rise up is irrelevant because we're a republic and they're not. But how is it irrelevant for us to rise up united and protest in a republic? You know, and I'm asking because I'm going to go debate with this guy on YouTube, and I know I shouldn't, but I'm going to. But I have to learn what I'm talking about so I have a leg to stand on in the conversation. Oh, Lori says, tag your YouTube channel in the comments every time and flash it on the screen. So I don't know how to put it on the screen. I guess I could. I do put it on the screen in the pictures over there on the side. It does come up. But I need to, I'll add it in the comments after the feed. How about that? I'll add a link. I need to add it in the description links because I have description links in the comments on how to follow me on Facebook for people that share this to other pages, which I hope you did. But and if you did, thank you for sharing. But I put links up there, so I need to add that in the links. I need to add my YouTube channel in the links. But Gerard says they don't give two damns about the troops. They only care about their egos and hatred for Trump. And he's right. What, you know, the media, the mass media, even though I don't watch it, fascinates me. I do study it because it's the enemy, and it's important to know your enemy. And that is one of the things, one of the main things that we're up against is the brainwashing of the mass media. But their whole play on this Trump thing, because, you know, I believe that what happened when Trump got elected president is we won. We derailed their system. Enough of us held our ground and didn't do what we normally do, which is cave in, and it derailed their system, and Trump was allowed to become president. That wasn't supposed to happen. And I believe ever since then, they've freaked out and they don't know how to explain it, so they've come up with this Russiagate bullshit, and they've started acting crazy. And the way they've decided to deal with Trump is making him this boogeyman and just reporting on every little thing he does like it's the end of the world. So he's right about that. Clinton says, oh, that's kind of racist what he says. I'm going to skip that one for now. I would say Zionists. Clinton says Jews, but I would say Zionists. Brought the towers down, upped the insurance, and then played hooky on 9/11. You're right, except I would say Zionists, and I wouldn't say Jews. The reason for that is when you start saying, if you say Jews, then people start saying that you're anti-Semitic. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm against Zionism and Zionists. I'm not against Israel. I'm against Zionism. I'm against what Israel is doing. You know, I'm not against Israel's, what is it? Against Israel's right to exist, basically. I'm against Zionism. But no, you're right. Larry Silverstein jacked up the insurance. Larry Silverstein only had the lease on the towers. What, he signed the lease in July. So what is that, 2 months before? 3 months, two months before 9/11? 2 months before he took on the lease. And it was a 99-year lease. And I think the whole value of it was something like $4 billion. And I'm not 100% sure on the numbers there, but he took out a double insurance policy on the towers and then got a double payout because it counted as two events. The attacks on each tower counted as two separate events. So we got to count it double. He made it quite a pretty penny on the attacks of 9/11. And he ended up getting a 99-year lease on that property for pennies on the dollar. He made money on the investment. You know, so it cost him $4 billion over 99 years. And within 2 months, he had already made, what, 12? I don't know exactly what he made in the settlement, but I want a ballpark of $12 billion. So tripled the cost in 2 months. So now 99 years is gravy. You know, he's got that property. It's free. It's paid for. You don't even have to worry about it for 99 years. Let's see. Clinton says Israel was founded by the Rothschilds. You're right about that too. They had a big hand in the founding of Israel. Gerard says most Jews around the world would not seem or are not in support of what violence-based Zionism became. Absolutely. That's why I wouldn't use the broader term of Jews. I would use Zionists. But hey, Nissa, good to see you here. I've missed some names. The comments are moving a little quicker now on the screen, so I'm trying to catch up. Yeah, Tina. Yeah. Well, think about this. Like Larry Silverstein likes skyscrapers and, you know, likes to take on those kind of properties. But the towers were, the city wanted out from underneath the Twin Towers because they were built at a time where asbestos was legal and widely used. So it was used all through the towers, and it all had to be removed. And a lot of people were moving out of the towers because they weren't built for the technology of today. So it was really expensive for companies to get, like, the right wiring and all that in their office space. So it wasn't convenient to be located in the towers. So they were mostly unrented. And when he took them on, so you're taking on this lease and the responsibility to get rid of this asbestos. You're taking on a money pit because you like skyscrapers. It doesn't make sense even from the very beginning, because the city needed out from under it. There was hemorrhaging money on the property, which is why they wanted out from under it. Hey, thanks for sharing, Gerard. Thanks for sharing, Steve and Lori. You guys are awesome. The sad thing is, Tina said, I hope it haunts those folks involved. The sad thing is it probably won't, because they're psychopaths. That's the type of people that do those things. These people are evil, and they don't think of us. We're not on the same level as them as far as what they think of us as. What they call us as goyim, lessers. We're just parasites. There's too many of us, and they want to kill 7 billion of us off anyway. Their ideal version of humanity is laid out on the Georgia Guidestones, and one of the very top one is that they want to maintain humanity under 500 million. So there's close to 8 billion of us now. That means a large amount of us need to die in order to get step one of their plan in motion. And I realize that Lori says stay on longer tonight, Sean. I'm going to. I already decided because we got about 8 people here now. But now I forgot what I was saying. Man, I hate when that happens. I completely lost my train of thought. So I'm going to go to something else that's in my notes. If you, wait. Hold on. Maybe I can get back. Let me see. People are talking. Let me see what you're saying. Clinton says it's impossible to take down those towers with airplanes. They were actually built to take a direct hit from larger planes than the ones used on 9/11. And he's absolutely right about that. They were designed to be able to take multiple hits from the largest plane in the 70s, which is actually bigger than the plane that hit the towers, and both planes that hit the towers. So they were designed to take a hit and remain standing, by the way. And not only that, but a lot of people don't know about this, but way before 9/11, I don't remember when, but the Empire State Building was hit by a plane and didn't fall, didn't have massive amounts of damage. And the plane also didn't enter the Empire State Building like butter. Those planes entered those buildings like there was no resistance at all. I don't understand the physics of that to a level where I can tell you exactly why it's impossible, but it looks impossible to my eyes. I would want to educate myself in physics enough to understand how an aluminum structure hits a steel and concrete structure and just slices through it like butter. That's fascinating to me. So, for one. Gerard says, and his policy was significantly in excess of what the towers were worth. Also true. Requiring multiple policies through different agencies, that's true too. All signed 1 month before 9/11. The whole thing stinks to high seven, and the worst police detective would investigate. Absolutely. And, not only on the crime element, on the crime aspect of the crime side of it, would you investigate, but on the building safety side of it, you would want to investigate. Why was there no investigation into how these collapses were able to happen? They build these steel frame structures to avoid that kind of thing. So wouldn't you want to learn from it? Like 3 steel frame structures completely collapsed into their own footprint on the same day. Wouldn't you want to learn from that? It's the only time it's ever happened before or since. You'd think you'd want to learn what happened to bring those towers down. But no, they just wanted to just get that steel the fuck out of here. Get it to China, melt it down, get rid of it. Now, why'd you need to get rid of it so fast? Why would they get rid of evidence of any crime so fast? You investigate a crime. They couldn't wait to get rid of the evidence. Tina says the train of thought left the station. It happens to me all the time. Yep, unfortunately. Steve says, my feeling is that Cheney, Papa Bush, and the military-industrial complex planned 9/11 many years prior. And you're right about that as well. The document PNAC, I'm fucking that up too. The group was called PNAC. The document's called Project for a New American Century. Actually lays out that they would need a new Pearl Harbor to advance their agenda in the Middle East. And that was released, what was that? Like a year before 9/11? So yeah, they planned it in advance. They already had their plan. You can look up the interview with General Wesley Clark on Democracy Now!, where they had their plan laid out for 7 wars over 5 years. Nissa says hologram. I'm assuming you mean the planes. I've seen that theory that there were no actual planes on 9/11. Now, I don't buy into that theory. I need to see more evidence of that theory. I don't think that it's impossible. I think the technology exists for them to have done something like that. So I don't think it's impossible. But I would need to see more evidence for the hologram theory. Because what I think happened is a variation of Operation Northwoods. I think that they were real commercial jets that were diverted in the air and replaced with drones. And the drones are what hit the towers. I don't think that those were the commercial planes that hit the towers. First off, they were gray planes and windowless. How many commercial planes do you see that are gray and windowless? So they weren't commercial airlines. You know, the United Airlines and American Airlines planes that supposedly hit those towers are brightly colored. They're like white with blue on them and, you know, bright colors. And they have windows all down the sides. These were gray with windowless gray planes. But I think the flights were diverted in the air and replaced with drones. And I think that that's what how it hit the towers. And then as far as why they went in with no resistance, I believe that those parts of the buildings were pre-weakened. That's my theory on it. That's just a theory. There was an art group from Israel called the B Thing, or their project was called the B Thing. I forget what the name of the group was. But they were in both towers, and they had access to repel, and they had full access to the towers, both of them, for months before 9/11. So who's to say what they did? There's pictures of them with bomb fuses. You know, look into that. Look into the B Thing. That was their project in the World Trade Center. Yeah, Clinton's talking about a plane that hit a bird and how the nose is completely shattered on the plane. That's exactly, these planes are not built for strength, they're built to fly. So it's a light structure and it's aluminum. It's made out of the lightest materials that they can get away with because they need it to be to save money on fuel and to make it practical to even do it in the first place. So a commercial airliner is not a fighter jet. It's not made for battle. It's not made to be strong. So it should have collapsed. You should have seen the wings snap off. It should not have looked the way it looked. The wings are one of the weakest parts on the plane. Like that should have just snapped off. And I would have expected that plane to crumple up more when it hit the building. It just shouldn't have looked the way that it looked. They went in like butter. like what they were going through was dust. There was no resistance. They didn't stop at all. And it's crazy. I think believing the official 9/11 story is crazy. And, you know, it's a conspiracy. So you can't say you don't believe in conspiracies. You just don't know what they are. Even the official 9/11 story is a conspiracy. Let me catch up with you guys. Lori asked, is it aluminum? A plane? I'm pretty sure the body of a plane is aluminum. The engines would have steel in them and, you know, heavier alloy metal, but the plane itself, I believe, is mostly aluminum. Yeah, Gerard says that indeed it was a crime scene, that they could have placed charges all throughout the building and rushed off the rubble because they couldn't remove all the spent charges. Not just that, but the evidence of demolition. I don't know if you noticed in the pictures that were able to be gotten before all the steel was removed, there was a lot of pictures released of steel being cut at a 45-degree angle. That is the angle that you use in demolitions to get a building to fall into its own footprint. And then, you know, wait a minute. Tina says the Pentagon looked like a missile. Oh yeah, that's in my 9/11 video too. The only footage released of the Pentagon, you know, the most protected and highly surveilled building on the planet probably, is 5 frames of video. And all it shows to me is a trail of smoke going across the lawn and the building catching on fire. That looked like a missile to me. I didn't see a plane for sure. And they confiscated something along the lines of 150 surveillance videos around the area. You're telling me none of those surveillance videos show a plane, and none of the other cameras, there's a camera every 5 feet on the Pentagon. None of those other cameras caught a plane. Gerard says a steel reinforced accelerant filled drone, ensuring it punched through and released the fuel. That could be. I could get on board with that. There had to be something going on. I've also seen a theory that the military planes that hit, because I'm on board with the drone theory, that's where I fall. That's my idea of what happened with these planes, is that they were military drones. The theory is that they had a missile attached to the bottom. If you watch, when both planes hit, there is a flash, and I'm talking about from the actual CNN coverage, you know, the official media release videos of the event, nothing doctored. There is a flash right before each plane hits. You can even catch it on the first hit. But there's a brief flash right before. There's just like a millisecond before the plane hits. And people are saying that was a missile. But I don't know. That's interesting. I just don't know. Lori says my 9/11 video is awesome. YouTube it. Yeah, go ahead and do that. Thank you anyway. Thank you for saying it's awesome. It's definitely one of the ones I'm the most proud of. And it was my 3rd attempt at a 9/11 video. But the most recent one on my YouTube channel, check it out. It's at about 500, 600 views. So it's done pretty well. For my channel, that's doing great. Because my channel is baby. It's just, you know, it's been going for over a year, but it's still a baby. It's still learning to crawl. I'm up to 360 subscribers, I think, which is great. Because I've went up 200 subscribers since I started doing Mandela videos. I can't believe how popular those are. Jeff says the photo ID from one of the so-called attackers was retrieved from the rubble. Give me a break. Oh, I know. Passports, bandanas, all this stuff they found, like in Shanksville, where they find bandanas and passports and stuff. You don't got nothing else. You know, in the little bit of rubble that was scattered around the ground in Shanksville, where that plane disappeared, you've got terrorist passports and bandanas and shit that survived that flame. Flames that apparently get hot enough to melt steel. to where it's melted in molten lava under the rubble for months after the event. For months, they are pulling molten steel, look like lava dripping off the beams for months. But yeah, that's jet fuel. If you believe that, you will believe absolutely anything. Trina says, riddle me this. Okay, fuel cannot melt steel alone, but if there were other chemicals, kind of like the kind used in fracking, will melt everything. I believe that there were other chemicals involved. I believe that it was there's evidence of nanothermite in the rubble. There's been a lot of research done on that by Stephen, I can't think of his name, but he's very involved in the 9/11 movement, and he found evidence of nanothermite, military-grade thermite, in the rubble, in the dust from the collapse of the towers. They collapsed to dust. You know, people forget. I don't think you remember. I think the image of the towers falling sticks in people's heads, but I think that they forget that they collapsed to dust, to nothing. They just, you know, two 1,500 feet tall buildings collapsed to nothing. You know, everything fit into the footprint of the building. Just clouds of dust filled the city of New York. There's this one shop in New York that partitioned off a section of the building, didn't clean it up or nothing, just put glass up so you can see exactly what it looked like on 9/11. And it's like 6 inches thick of dust. And that was blocks away from the towers. They collapsed to nothing. You're not talking about a pile of rubble here from a pancake collapse, a gravity-based pancake collapse. First off, would have took, I think the mathematical numbers I've seen for how long a pancake collapse would have took was something around a minute. And then you'd be left with this big pile of rubble that would have like fell off in weird angles, and it'd be all over the place. It wouldn't be the way that it happened. That's not what would have went down. Steve says there was no plane in Shanksville. Nope. The coroner, when he got there, said he stopped being coroner the minute he arrived. There was no bodies, no plane, no nothing to investigate. See, that one I believe they just shot down. There's a lot of evidence. There was a lot of pieces of the plane found up to 150 miles away. It entered the earth. And that area where it hit, that was a strip mine. That was, you know how it looks like the plane wings and everything? It just looks like a plane-shaped divot in the ground. That was actually already there. That was an abandoned strip mine. So it's complete horseshit. The whole story is complete horseshit. And they feed you that Flight 93 story and make them the heroes and give you that heroic story. When really, I think that these people on all these flights were murdered. And I believe they were forced to call their families before they were murdered. But again, that's just my theory. Until we get a real investigation into what happened on 9/11 and we find out the real truth, then we're just going to have to go with theories. And there's nothing wrong with theories, and you should be proud. If you're a conspiracy theorist, you should wear that, your tinfoil hat with honor. Because there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Conspiracies exist, and theories exist. So, of course, every detective investigates a crime using theories. It's funny that they make you ashamed of these terms, that people will, you know, get defensive even if they're called a conspiracy theorist. They designed it that way so that you wouldn't question stuff. Lori says the film footage and explanations are grade A production and it all makes sense. Oh, I don't know what she's talking about there. She might have been talking about the... she's talking about something. I missed it. Steve says there's a woman, former flight attendant, who's written good books on 9/11. Can't remember her name. Check out her videos on YouTube. Oh, I will look it up. Yeah, Gerard says citizens were murdered, and they absolutely were. So yes, treason and public hangings are required. And will it ever happen? That's what frustrates me sometimes. That's what makes me lose faith. Because here we are, what, 17, 18 years later, and there's still people that will treat you ridiculous if you question the 9/11 story. Still the majority of people. There's a lot of people awake. Don't get me wrong, and I like that I see that more people are waking up. But I don't see how you could still look at that story and be honest with yourself and have any of it make sense to you. And if any of it's wrong, you have to look at all of it. So, but 9/11 was a false flag. And I like going back to what we were talking about. I believe Israel had a huge hand in it. I'll tell you who didn't. And that's 19 guys led by Osama bin Laden, otherwise known as Tim Osman, from a cave fortress in Afghanistan. And that Tim Osman was his CIA code name, Tim Osman. He worked for us. We put together Al-Qaeda. Just like we built ISIS. Okay, let's see. Steve says they just convened a grand jury to reinvestigate. Do I dare get my hopes up? A real investigation? A real investigation to the entire event? Do I dare allow myself to dream? Tina says we still don't know the whole truth about JFK and Marilyn Monroe. You're right. And it's just like, how long? Eventually, it will be a flood when it's released, if it ever is. So, how long? How long are we talking? Is it going to be in my lifetime? Am I going to still sound like the crazy conspiracy theorist 30 years from now? Clinton says, I hate the word conspiracy, should be truth theories. So many have turned out to be revealed to be true. And I had somebody, I was debating somebody on being a conspiracy theorist, and they were saying that the only correct time to believe in conspiracies is after they've been proven to be true by establishment sources. And I just couldn't disagree with that more, because I believe that's the safest time to believe in a conspiracy. But it's dangerous to wait until then, especially if you're waiting for establishment sources. Oh my God. You're going to be waiting a long time. Well, we've had just sprinkles of information released about JFK assassination, and that happened in what, 63? Oh, all right. Let's see. What got us off on this tangent? I like that we talked about 9/11, but 9/11 consumes me so much. I could go on and on about 9/11. Steve says I'm dropping a lot of truth tonight. I'm dropping a lot more than usual tonight. We've almost been at an hour and a half. I'm going to have to wrap up. I just realized what time it is. I have to make the kids pizza rolls or they're not going to eat. They'll starve to death. And then my wife will hate me when she gets home. She'll be mad at me and I'll be in trouble. So I'm going to have to wrap up pretty soon. Jeff says, have you noticed that many truthers are smokers? I read that last night from someone. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. No, people try to bash me and call you, like mockingly call you a truther. I wear that as a badge of honor. I'm not ashamed of that. You have to. This is the age of deceit. You have to seek out and find your own truth and find your own sources for truth and just do the best you can, because you can't accept what's being fed to you. That's all bullshit. You don't want any of that. But like I said, I'm going to wrap up and go in there and make some kind of a dinner. It's 8 o'clock here, so the kids are probably mad at me. But let me go check on them. Thank you guys so much for coming and watching the show. If you come late, feel free to comment still. And I would like to hear your input on things you'd like to see in future shows, subjects you'd like to see me cover on future videos. I would love to hear from you on any of that. So feel free to comment about any of that. And thanks for coming. I'll see you guys next Friday at 6:30 p.m. Central, right here from my Facebook page. Thanks for coming, and have a great night. Look at this. It's not ready for me to turn it off. You saw that. That wasn't my fault.